I'm from Istanbul, Turkey. I studied visual communication design. So I took a few courses in 3D and animation, but not too deep into it. It was mostly graphic design, but I come from a visual background. And I've been making effects for about 4 years. And I am Meta certified and Lens ambassador, as a Lens studio ambassador. So
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your journey in becoming Meta certified and how it influenced your work.
well, I mean, when I first started, I didn't, I mean, I don't come from a technical background, so I just tried to make visual things like face filters and stuff. So it took me a while to get certified. I failed the first time, but then yes, I studied it a little bit. And I mean, visual scripting isn't that hard, but you still have to know a little bit of coding to understand you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't start as a really, technical person. I just started making it out of fun.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's great. It's because it's such a way to express yourself creatively and then you learn along the way. I think that's fantastic. Um, so as a member of the Snap Lens network, how do you see the future of AR lenses and filters evolving on social media platforms?
Well, I mean, it's pretty new, especially among like I'm almost 40, so my friends don't even understand what augmented reality is. So, but when it becomes mainstream, I think everybody's going to use it like cell phones. So
Yeah.
it's pretty new still. Like trying on clothing and all of that will be much more mainstream, I think, in the near future.
Mm. So I guess going a little bit back as well, what was the first thing that really inspired you to get into the world of 3D and AR creation?
Well, I mean, it wasn't really, planned. I just saw all these filters people were making, and then I said, how do they make these? So I started up searching on Google and found some tutorials on YouTube, and that's how I started. It didn't. I mean, I was always a visual person, so I was wondering how all these effects were being made. Then that's how I got into it.
Amazing. Yeah, it's again, I think it's a great way to get into it as well. It's a way for people who may not have such a technical background to actually, it's very visual in that sense. Um, so about your approach, how do you approach the process of conceptualizing and designing new effects and experiences?
Well, I think, I when I'm making commercial lenses, I think the most important thing is target audience. You want them to understand what your message is. So, like you start. I mean, start conceptualizing in that way when or I mean, other ones that I make personal. When I make personal lenses, I just come up with an idea and make it. I don't.
Yeah, so do you kind of just, does an idea just come to you, or do you plan like something to create an idea, or is it
Well,
more?
I mean, I think it's more, when you're looking at things, you come up with an idea and you just make it.
So you see like inspiration in
Yeah.
things. Yeah. What role do you think AR will play in shaping the way we interact with technology in the future?
Well, I mean, as I said, uh, you will be able to see things that are not around like the clothing trial, and as I said, or like the food tracking. Well, I mean, for me, I'm more interested. I mean, I'm really interested in the fashion side of it. So, or maybe someone who's making education lenses, it can be used at schools, and so it's such a huge. It's such a huge thing that you can't. I don't know which side to talk about.
That's a good sign because there's exactly so many ways that it can be used, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more as it becomes mainstream, as you said. But maybe you can share a particularly challenging project that you've worked on as an AR creator and how you overcame those obstacles. So you spoke a bit about like the technical natures.
Yeah, I think, for me, more the challenging part is the technical part because I'm not a coder, and I wish I knew coding. I start taking classes and then I'm like, I can't do this. But whenever I come across a challenge, the community is so helpful. I think you can I've never had any bad experiences. Whenever I ask somebody, they'll help me in the community, and I watch tutorials and I ask people. So I think that's helpful.
Yeah. I think that's a really good piece of advice for especially new creators who are, learning. I think always reach out to the community because I think the AR community is quite unique in that everyone is really, really happy to help and
I think everybody, like even the most advanced people, are still learning because there's always something new. So everybody is a learner, and that's why they want to share, their experiences and
Exactly. And I guess going off from that, do you collaborate with other creators or developers to create, enhanced experiences?
Well, I haven't at all, but I'm open whenever. If there's a project, I'd love to.
Is anyone watching?
Yeah.
How do you ensure that your AR experiences provide like a meaningful experience for the users? Are there any key things that you always make sure to include?
Yeah, that's what I meant when I said, the target audience, for them to understand what you're trying to put out. So, like if my target audience is 40 years old, they won't understand the same thing as a 15-year-old. So I think that's
so definitely make sure you really understand the audience who you're trying to reach. So it's always good to research and see. Yeah, exactly. Are there any trends that you're particularly excited about in AR recently?
Well, I think the city scale stuff is a lot of fun. That now I think it's available in Lens Studio, and I think Google has it too now.
Yeah,
I really like that. And like people are making CGI. I love that too. But I wish that people would make it more for AR too, because people could enjoy it themselves rather than just watching a video of a CGI.
Exactly. Yeah. I think as the devices get more sophisticated as well, we'll be able to do way more powerful things. Yeah. So like bringing something you might only see in a movie, it will be finally be able to see live in front of you with that level of detail. Is there any advice that you would give to other aspiring creators who are looking to kind of make a mark in this field?
I think if they're young, they should learn coding as soon as possible. But also networking, as I said, the community is really important. Making friends and exchanging ideas is.
So maybe for people who are starting out as well, can you tell us a little bit about the differences and the similarities between creating AR for different platforms. Is there a platform that you prefer to create for? So one that is more effective for you?
I mean, they're mostly the same. Once you know the basics, you'll get used to the other one. But I mean, for me, when I first started using Lens Studio, I was pretty, intimidated by it. But then when you get used to it, I think it's more user friendly than Spark, because I think everything is ready for you in Lens Studio. But in Spark, you have to know a little bit more coding and visual scripting. And so for me, that was easier.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. So if any Meta Spark people are listening, there's some good feedback for you. But yeah, I think both tools are really great and make it quite easy for people to get straight in. There's a lot of tutorials and things like that. So fantastic. And always it's good to have, I think it's great that we have the multiple companies creating these tools for us to use. So we have a lot of choice and a lot more to learn too. So let's talk a bit about creativity. So how do you manage creative burnout? Is that something that you've dealt with? Is it something that you know is coming up with new ideas? Can that be difficult or overwhelming?
Yeah, I think, some people are really prejudiced against AI, but lately I've been getting a lot of inspiration from Midjourney when I, can't come up with an idea, or I just look at the community page and see what other people have made. I mean, it's not, that I want to copy their work, but, it's a place for inspiration. So, yeah, I think those are just looking at, different accounts on social media. You get inspiration.
Yeah, I think inspiration is a huge part of that creative process. So being able to take inspiration, but also tell your own story at the same time, I think is the part of the beauty of the community that we have. So finally, can you tell us a bit about your favorite project and why?
I mean, I like a few of my projects. I mean, I had a lot of fun making a few of my projects, but I think my favorite one was we had a meta hackathon in Istanbul and during the summer, and I won a prize for it. We only had 5 hours to make it, so it was really crazy. But it's called Alice Underwater, and it takes you underwater, and you see the reflections of the pieces inside. It's an immersive AR effect, so I think that's one of my favorites.
And you only had 5 hours. 5 hours to create it from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, they told you they told the topics beforehand. So we had time to think about it. So
that's amazing. Yeah, that's it. That's really impressive. Thank you so much for joining Crosstalks, and it was absolutely fantastic to have you.
Thank you so much.